What is going on, my Super Sandwiches? Romster here, and today I'm joined by Cool Kid 93 with some Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 talk. And it's funny, this is actually a very interesting topic, and we want to see how the community thinks about this, how the community feels about it. Now, before we start, I do want to point out, when it comes down to content, every fan, whether you're a Dragon Ball fan, a Call of Duty fan, a Halo fan, almost Letter Adventure, I don't know, any game out there, when it comes down to content, we want as much content as possible. Obviously, I mean, because games are expensive. You pay $60. You want to get the what's the saying? You want to get the best out of your buck. Is that what the saying is?
The other one I hear is you get what you pay for.
That one. Well, you get the message. Like when it comes down to games, you want to get as much content as possible. But at the same time, content can only get you so far. Like the most important aspect of any game when it comes down to it, honestly, is gameplay. And me and Cool Kid were actually talking about this in DMs the other day on Twitter, how a lot of people want so much content out of Xenoverse. And while we don't know what content is going to be planned, what the final content will even look like, we don't know what the final roster will look like. We don't know any of that. We just know that the gameplay itself for right now is fun. Like Xenoverse created a pretty good blueprint for what could be a pretty fun Dragon Ball game. But it had a lot of flaws. Do you want to toss out some of those infamous flaws? I know you have a lot of from the previous game.
Man, where do I even start? I ain't gonna be like that. But it has some flaws, some big ones that I didn't like. It's the hit detection for one,
right? And
how created characters just overshadowed the regular characters.
Right.
Like it, you can do like about a 5-hit combo with a regular character. It do okay damage. Let a created character hit you 5 times, you dead.
Yeah, pretty much.
Really like that.
Right. So obviously, Xenoverse 1 had a lot of problems. But when it comes down to it, Xenoverse 2 seems to be fixing a lot of those problems. One of the most notable ones is the hit detection is a lot better in Xenoverse 2. And what they basically did to fix it and balance it out, and while we have not played online yet, you can see this in like the local version of the game, is they took out a lot of invincibility frames, which is what led to hit detection being awful online in Xenoverse 1. So here's how this works. Let's say I punch you, and you start flying. There's a point where your character's invincibility frames trigger, so if I try to hit you again, you're okay, so you can get out of it. This like will stop infinite combos and stuff like that. Well, they made it more precise now in Xenoverse 2, so if I hit you, and I'll snap vanish behind you, I can actually keep the combo going. Now, a lot of times this happened in Xenoverse 1 where you could do that as well, but it was very, very iffy, especially online. I mean, Cool Kid, I know you have a bunch of videos on your channel where you try to show off the combos online and they just don't connect. But what they...
Yeah, I made sure to check that out.
Yeah, there's a bunch. But what they seem to have done with Xenoverse 2 is they kind of perfected that gameplay. I don't want to say perfected, but they made it a lot better in terms of hit detection, lack of invincibility frames, and if you're a fan of massive combos and just, an all-around enjoyable fighting game, this is a lot better. Now, the reason why we decided to do this video is because I feel like no matter how good or how much better the game is going to improve, there's still people who won't be quite as satisfied just because they want more content. For example, as of right now, there is a speculation going around that second form Cell and second form and third form Frieza will not be in the game, and this has turned off some people. Now, when I say some people, I don't mean all. Some people could literally be like 10 people in the world. It could be a couple hundred, it could be a couple thousand. But there's a bunch of people, let's just say that, who are turned off of the game just because they want to play as second and third form Frieza and don't want to play second form Cell. Now, the way I see it is, I feel like people might ignore the actual gameplay aspect of it just because there's content that could be lacking that we could even get later on. And that's why we decided to do this video, is just because no matter what content we end up not getting or we get later, the most important part is gameplay. And a good example right now is Ultra Tenkaichi. Now, to kind of break it down, to those who don't know, Ultra Tenkaichi was a game that came out on the PS3 and the Xbox 360, and it had a decent amount of content. I think they had about 40-something characters, ranging from, early Saiyan Saga all the way up to like Gogeta and stuff like that. But the gameplay was just, how would you describe the gameplay from Ultra Tenkaichi?
I'd say it's more about rock, paper, scissors, really. Like who it was really like a guessing game, rock, paper, scissors.
Exactly. So it was just kind of like a interactive movie, basically. You press certain buttons on the screen, and then you get the action. I mean, it looked flashy, but it was just very redundant, and it wasn't good in the gameplay department. Now, fast forward, we get Xenoverse, and again, Xenoverse might not have been a fan favorite to some people. It's a fan favorite to a lot of people. It is my favorite Dragon Ball game, and I saw the potential in it. It's like if you take that game and polish it, add more content, you can get a pretty good game. But really, the most important aspect is it has to be a fun game. I mean, you can have a Dragon Ball game like we can get Xenoverse 3 tomorrow, and they could put like 1,000 characters in it, but if the gameplay is not fun, it's not going to be an enjoyable game. So I guess we want to ask the community, is like, where do you guys stand in terms of content versus gameplay? Like, what do you want to see in terms of gameplay? What do you want to see in terms of content? What's like the good in between? Because honestly, no matter what game we get in the future, whether it be another Dragon Ball game or Xenoverse 2, Xenoverse 3, there's going to be always a point where we don't get everything we want. We might not get certain accessories. We might not get certain characters. We might not get certain modes. But the question is that really important? I mean, obviously we want everything, but is it actually as important as some people may make it out to be? And the reason why I say that is because like, looking back at the other games that came out in the past decade or so, there's been so many modes offered in certain games with so many characters that people didn't even really choose. Like, for example, I think you mentioned before we started recording how a lot of people were pissed off when Xenoverse 1 was being released. A lot of people thought that Goten would not have Super Saiyan transformation, and because of that, a lot of people were pissed. But in the time I spent playing Xenoverse in the last year and a half, I have never really seen anybody openly choose Goten's character. So it's like you see what we're trying to say here. Like, does that make sense?
Yeah, I can count on like 2 hands, because some people might remember me. It's been a while since I've been out the community, but some people might remember me. I used regular characters mainly. And I probably count on like 2 hands how many times I seen Goten, and that was one of the characters people was like raging about before the game came out because they thought Super Saiyan Goten wasn't in the game.
Same thing with Bardock. People thought Bardock was missing Super Saiyan too.
Yeah, I see a handful of people use Bardock, but it was like the majority that was arguing about that. And you only seen like a handful of Bardocks that kind of don't match up.
Yeah. So
like I had said earlier, it was like if Ultimate Tenkaichi had the exact same amount of characters as Tenkaichi 3 had, would people consider it a good game because it had all these characters and the content, but the gameplay was exactly the same, rock, paper, scissors.
I think what people would rather see is Ultra Tenkaichi built on the Tenkaichi 3 model, where it's like, it looks really, really nice. People will play that. But I mean, again, on the inverse, if, Ultra Tenkaichi had 100-something characters, but the gameplay was still stale, it will still be a bad game. So with that said, I mean, I guess the message we're just trying to get across is we don't know what's planned as far as content for Xenoverse 2. Personally, I don't care about Zarbon or Dodoria or even Android 16, but I know some people do. But at the same time, if we didn't get those characters, I would not actually care. In fact, I'm pretty sure that I would never play with Zarbon or Dodoria or even Android 16 when the game comes out in October, because I just wasn't a big fan of Dodoria and 16 personally, and I hate Zarbon. But I know if they weren't in the game, people would complain, because people complained with Xenoverse 1 when they didn't have Dodoria and Zarbon. Granted, you could mention, I guess, it made the story kind of weird because they weren't part of the Frieza saga. Fine. But as far as gameplay, after you beat the game, after you beat the story, that's the part that keeps the game going. Like, after you beat the story, when you go online, what do you do? What's actually important to you online? And honestly, to me, as well as Cool Kid, the most important part is the gameplay. Will my hits connect? Will I be able to get into an online lobby? Will I be able to actually play a game without, any issues such as somebody being able to only choose custom created characters where they can punch me 3 times and then I die? So,
man,
yeah.
And don't forget, like, just for people that's listening, it's not a case of we upholding or defending. It's just from the looks of it, this probably might be the hands that we are dealt. So since it's the hands that we are dealt, we might as well just embrace the gameplay and still, of course, we wish we can have the best of both worlds, but in this case, it seemed like it might just be more gameplay over content, and it's another game you can look at that. Yeah, for now at least. But you can look at another game Burst Limit. Burst Limit is personally my favorite DBZ game, and it didn't have that much content, but the gameplay was just
Amazing.
amazing.
Yeah. Every time I do my Dragon Ball Super reviews, I always use Burst Limit gameplay in the background, and people are always commenting like, "Oh my God, what game is that? It looks awesome." It is. It's just the reason why you might not have heard about it is because it came out in 2008 on the 360 and PS3, and it severely lacked in content. And that's because the game was actually released before it was finished. It's a weird situation with that game. But honestly, the thing is when it comes down to it, focus on the gameplay first, and make sure everybody who's watching this video, your voice is just as important as everybody else. Whenever the portal opens for feedback for Xenoverse 2, it'll be your chance to kind of speak up and tell the developers what we want. And when the game comes out, if not everything that you want in the game is in the game, or I guess if the stuff that you wanted in the game is lacking, it's your chance to be heard and just kind of like fight for the game. But for the most part, gameplay always comes over content, just because no matter how much content you get, if the game sucks, the game sucks. So that's kind of what we're saying, and that's kind of what we want to see what the community thinks and in which, I guess, position they stand when it comes down to it. So in the comment section below, we want to know your thoughts on content versus gameplay. What's the most important and why? And kind of like, what is the best of both worlds? Because again, we're not going to get the perfect game ever. We're never going to get the game where we have perfect gameplay and perfect content. It's maybe on the final Xenoverse game, but even with that, it's like it might be if you might have stuff missing. I mean, look at Naruto Storm 4. Storm 4 was supposed to be like the perfect Naruto game, and even that game was missing content, and then that's it. Like, that series is done. So I don't know. Like, I guess let us know your thoughts in the comment section below about content versus gameplay and where you guys stand with it, and I guess we can discuss it with the community. Cool Kid, do you have anything else to say?
Only thing I have to say is see y'all on Xenoverse 2. Thank y'all for listening.
Hopefully we'll get beta information soon, so we'll see all you guys on the battlefields whenever that happens. So keep an eye on the channel for news on that. But for now, let's talk about content versus gameplay in the comment section below. Anyways, if you enjoyed today's video, if you're hyped for Xenoverse 2, make sure to leave a like right below. Check out Cool Kid in the description below and all that good stuff. And I guess we'll see you guys in the next video.